Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Everquest Old School. And on tonight's episode, I am joined by a really good friend. We got Chupacabra with us.
Hey everybody.
And he's playing his monk tonight, Soju. And what level are you right now?
I'm currently level 38.
And we're over in the, what do you call these, the Yeti Caves?
The Yeti Caves, northwestern part of the Dreadlands.
Okay, and it's just amazing experience, guys. I could not, tell you enough how much, just being here for the last, what were we here, like 10 minutes maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I've already gotten a half a bubble of yellow in just 10 minutes. That is nuts.
At level 40.
Yeah, at level 40, which, if you guys remember right, when we were over in Soul B, to get that much experience, I was in there for, I think, like 2.5 hours, killing non-stop with, like 3 monks pooling and all sorts of stuff, and it was just, it's really a lot quicker here, and, from what I've heard, when you do kind of a duo like this, with just, 2 people, killing stuff, you tend to get a little bit more experience because you're not sharing it with a full group. Was it always that way back in the day? Because I always, as a cleric, I was always just a group person, and I found experience was a lot quicker in a group than outside of one, but I never really duoed that much.
I think full groups get a bonus. I'm not sure if they do on this server or not, but I think on live they did. But you also, I think, full group, you're actually mowing through more mobs.
Yeah.
Depending on which zone you're in.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that, but I was doing exactly that over in Soul B with the full group. Like, we had the whole, thing decked out, and it was literally a constant pool. In fact, there were so many mobs spawning because there were so few people in the zone at certain points that we couldn't even keep up with all the mobs. And
yeah, depends on the level caps, not caps, sorry, the level differentiation that you have going on too. If somebody's like super high, they gotta suck with the most amount of experience.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and we did have at times some pretty high level people in there compared to what I was, because I went in there really early, guys. And that's kind of the downside, but also the positive side of going into places like that is, the creatures are higher level than you, so you're gonna get more experience, but then you have to share more of it with people. You want me to go ahead and root one?
Yeah, pick one.
All right, I'll pick the one on the left. Here he comes. Nice grab, man. But these things spawn so quickly that even with the monk who's just tearing through these guys, we can't quite keep up with the kills. I mean, for the most part, we are, but they come back just slightly faster than we can keep up with it. So there's always at least 1 or 2 of them up, which is absolutely perfect, I think, in my opinion, if you can keep it like that. Because then there's, those situations where you might land that critical, or you might get a couple good shots in there, and then you don't have to worry about, like, sitting and waiting for anything to happen. You already know there's always at least 1 up that you can pull.
Right, if we had 1 more DPS, it'd probably be just perfect.
Yeah, I mean, then we'd be able to be wrecking through these. In fact, we might actually have to wait in between spawns if we had any, like, even just like another... Any class is what I'm thinking, is because it really is that close.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be nice.
But, I mean, with just the 2 of us, I am just getting so much good experience. I almost don't want to share it, guys. That's coming from somebody who, like, really likes grouping with other people. So, I don't know. This is just an amazing place at level 40. But you were saying most people leave here about what level?
Most people I've seen in 42, 43 if you're stretching it. Ooh, Gore is up.
Who's that?
If you look at your chat, I don't know how to say that name correctly, but Gore is the white dragon in Dreadlands, and she is a pain.
Oh, yeah, there was a dragon in this zone, wasn't there?
Yeah, she tears through people left and right. She's really bad.
Oh, ZK just sent me a message, and he was like, I'm sorry I can't be there with you guys, but it's a full repop tonight, because apparently...
Yes, it is.
They brought the server down for, what would you say, about an hour or a little bit longer than an hour?
About an hour, yeah. Supposedly there were some issues on the back end of the server.
And what do you mean by that?
Just maintenance.
Oh, that they hadn't run in a while?
Physical stuff with the server itself.
Well, to be honest, guys, that's something you're going to find on pretty much any game that you play, whether it's a, older MMO or a brand new one. But because this is an older one, really doesn't happen all that much. Like, they've pretty much figured out what they need to figure out, and they just kind of keep it running the way they need to. They do occasionally come up with updates, though, that, yeah, the best way I can describe it is they roll things back the way they used to be more than the way they kind of are now on, like, live and things of that sort. So Yeah, you will come into this game and you're like, it's the closest that you can get to classic EverQuest, but you will notice that some things are a little different. Like they used to give you timers on your buffs, and that's definitely not classic. And then they took that out. They also used to have a few other little tiny things like that they have finally over the course of years kind of done away with. But there's still a few other things that are out there that they're still tweaking, and maybe one day we'll actually figure out how to take out of the game. But it's a lot of coding they got to go through, so.
Right.
You got to be a little patient with them on that one. The Sky, though, we have had one of the devs, contact us and let us know, he's done the Sky, and it's, he's something he's very proud of. And the fact that they took the time just to go back and do that shows their dedication, as well as it's the same guy who did the spell effects. So he looked at like we got a repop here as well. Let me go ahead and root him. Yeah, I'll go ahead and root this guy. Right where he's at. Nice. Ooh, you got another one down the hill. Okay, not too far. Does he roam closer up here, or we should be fine right here?
I think he's good right there.
Okay. I mean, I should be able to root rot, a few of these and not really have to worry too much about it, though.
There's going to be another one coming from the way that we're facing right now, the tunnel entrance. There'll be one pathing down here shortly.
Oh, okay. I'm at 88, so I mean, by the time you're done with this guy, I'll be at like 90 something. So I'm not too low on power. I could actually spend a little bit more power blasting these guys, but I figured I'd go ahead and be a little safer until we get our, our footing, and I know exactly what's going to happen here. Let's go ahead and grab all this. Now, in case you guys are thinking I'm being greedy, I am kind of, but that's because, Chupa said he doesn't want any of the loot. And I guess it's because he's a monk, or it's just because he's filthy rich. So one or the other, I don't know.
Definitely not filthy rich, but you're going to need it more than I am later on when you start getting those spells, those nice symbols up throwing everybody.
Oh, yeah, that's going to drain my bank account really quick, guys. I mean, just buying the level spells at 39 pretty much bankrupted me, guys. I thought I had a lot when I said I had like 1K in the bank, and then when you spend like 500, 600, 700 platinum to buy your spells, you're like, holy crap, I really don't have that much money, actually.
Yep.
So, level 44, I'm not looking forward to it. Those, actually, I am looking forward to it. I'm just looking forward to paying for it. And then, when you go to the next level, it's even more. Once you hit the 50s, though, it kind of evens out a little bit, actually, because you only start getting like 1, maybe 2 level spells, per level, I should say. So
and you'll be hunting in places that give a little bit more rewards.
Yeah, I mean, mostly I hunt with you guys. And when I hunt with, did you go down the...
I went to the tunnel entrance to pull.
Oh, okay.
Get him over here a little faster.
But yeah, if you hunted pickup groups... Oh, go ahead.
Poppy mend.
Oh, okay. But yeah, if you hunted pickup groups, guys, when stuff drops, everybody gets to random on it, whether you need it or not. But when I group with friends, if something drops, and whether they can use it or one of their ults use it, then it goes to them. Like I'm not worried too much about that. So we're probably not going to be making too much money in that regard. But again, we will, probably go to Seb quite a bit because I absolutely love Seb, and I would love to get back in there and show you guys a lot of that area. And they drop gems, and nobody really needs gems unless you're doing like a jewel crafter. And then, of course, we'll give those gems to them. But that's a really, really expensive trade skill, guys. It costs, oh, man, yeah, I can't even remember how much it cost my guy.
And depending on if you plan on doing the Shaw quests with the Coldane and Velius, no matter what, you have to raise it.
Oh, do you really?
Yep.
You got to do jewel crafting?
You need tailoring, baking, pottery, and jewel crafting.
Oh,
fishing and fletching too.
But all you can do all the other ones for probably 1,000 platinum.
Fairly cheap.
Yeah, all the ones combined for about 1,000. But jewel crafting is going to take you like 1,000 platinum to get to like level 15 or something. Like it's ridiculous.
It takes a bit, man. Yeah, it's expensive.
That's going to be rough. I'm going to have to get one of those fungi tunics and sell that just to get that up there. Like you could use probably about 30K, depending on the class, I guess, because if you fail a lot, you're not going to you're not going to be able to sell the items.
You definitely want to have an enchanter.
Enchant. Enchant the bars.
Brilliance and all that good jazz too. The buffs, just so that way your skill will go up faster.
Yeah, on that one, because you are using so much money to upgrade, you don't want to waste even like one try on that one. But for a class like me that uses, I think it uses either intelligence or wisdom, which one of yours is higher at the moment.
Yep.
So if you're a wisdom-based class and you happen to wait until you get to your high enough level where you're pretty much maxed out, 255, although that's only for power, right? Does that actually translate over into your skill, or can you go all the way up to like 300 and it will still improve that?
That I don't know. Not really sure, honestly.
Because it is possible to get a lot more than, ooh, a flawless, I don't know how much that's worth.
16, 18, somewhere around there.
Ooh, not bad. But yeah, it is possible to get a lot higher than 255 on your wisdom, although, as I have mentioned before, you will find intelligent casters or wisdom casters will start trading out their pure intel or wisdom gear for pure mana, pure power, instead of, you know, getting that, I think it's 1 power for every wisdom or intelligence past 255 rather than 10. So it definitely becomes in your interest to, you know, keep it at 255 or as close as you possibly can. Some people will have to go a little bit lower, you know, 250 or something like that, and just go with more wisdom or more power in general. But yeah, you can get it pretty close, I think. What do you have yours at on your mage?
I think my mage is around 230, 235, somewhere around there maybe.
Well, that's not bad. Are you pretty decked out, or is there a few pieces that you've been kind of wanting to get?
Oh man, I haven't really done raids too much with my guild, but he's got decent gear. I'd like to trade out some of the int gear for mana gear though.
Oh, even already when you're not even, you know, all the way
definitely, yeah, because there's 2 caps. The hard cap is 255. Past 255, you don't get anything at all. Actually, you don't get any mana back.
Really, I thought you still got that one.
No, it's a hard cap. And then at 200, it's what's called a soft cap, where your returns start to diminish a little bit.
Oh, okay, so it's not quite the same when it first came out.
Not quite the same, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's a little different. But I mean, even when you pass 200, mana, 9 times out of 10, mana items will be better overall than the int. It just depends on what all your gear looks like. Like I have earrings that are pure mana earrings, I'm sorry, pure int earrings at 5 int a piece. It'd be great to get hit point mana earrings, but they're god awful expensive.
See, why are you going for hit points on that one?
Just survivability basically.
Oh, because
you start getting hit.
Yeah, your armor's made out of paper.
Yeah, with tissues.
But you know, I mean, is it really worth it though? Do you find that having like an extra 100 or 200 hit points would have you survive in certain situations, or do you think just going more pure power would at least give you the ability to nuke more if you just stayed in the background?
Honestly, resists overall would probably help more than anything else. Just because and that's for raids and stuff like that. So if you get AoE bombed by something, if you have the resist to go with it, you'll get hit for a whole lot less. So, but that again goes hand in hand with the hit points that you can get as well. Because like we were discussing the other day, mages in raids, mana rods, Call of the Hero, every so often a few summoned items here and there, and that's about it. I'm not really nuking anything. The resist on mage nukes is kind of horrible.
That's kind of interesting. So just for that very specific class, that's why you're kind of doing it that way.
Right.
Because I know with like wizards and stuff, they want every little bit they can get because...
Oh, they're freaking nuclear bombs in this game.
Yeah.
They destroy all sorts of stuff.
As long as they're not getting resisted. There are certain mobs out there, even wizards will get resisted on, and then they're just worthless. They have nothing, unlike the mages who at least can summon stuff and Call of the Hero. And for those of you who are not aware of what Call of the Hero is, that allows you to summon a player to you. I think it uses a pearl, right?
Uses a pearl, yep.
Yeah, and so it's a little expensive. I mean, everything in this game has give and take. So you're going to have to give something to get that benefit. And the benefit is I can pull you from one side of the zone all the way to where everybody's kind of gathering here. And how do you normally get to this spot? Do you usually have like a group that will kind of clear the way for just you and the other mages, or?
Typically, yeah.
So you guys are the, you know, the precious cargo, at least at the very beginning before everybody gets there. And then after that, everybody's like, I don't care about the mage.
You just get mobile, a quick mobile group, then you go in there, visit as far as you can, or whatever the case is, and you go from there. I'll pull this guy from back here instead.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. I mean, I used to get that feeling on the Plane of Fear raids with my Cleric. You know, everybody would be like, protect the Clerics. let them get in there and camp out, you know, and then you'd be like, I can't, you can't stop smiling, guys, because it's just like everybody's trying to protect you. You feel like you're this big important person, and it's definitely useful in those situations, but I don't think it's really as bad anymore, right? Like, people have pretty much mastered those zones.
Yeah, I mean, the learning curve between back then and now, it's really different. It's unique, because people, they know the tricks and tricks of the trade pretty much.
Yeah.
But another thing that they do with mages is, like, guilds will have Call the Mage, Call the Hero mules. It'll be a guild account where the officers will have access to it. They'll level a mage to 55, give him the spell, get him the basic reagents that he needs, park him in specific zones with the faction that he needs as well, and you start Call the Hero chains that way as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's nice to have at least an account on the guild that can, you know, pull the Cleric on or do the Call of the Hero, just in case the other mages for whatever reason can't show up. But
right,
I still like to have all the classes there. Like, there's no limit. Like in Everquest 2, or some of the other MMOs out there that you might be aware of, guys, they usually have a limit. Like Everquest 2, it's 4 groups of 6. You know, is all the people you can bring in. So they make the mobs very specifically designed to be able to handle 4 groups of 6, and you'd be able to kill that mob with 4 groups of 6. In this one, the sky's the limit. So if you can, you know, bring in 150 people and the zone won't crash because of it, that's the key, the zone won't crash, then you can have 150 people.
Yep, completely different.
Which is, it's absolutely epic in my opinion. I like it because it takes me back to like the old D&D style, where if you want to sit around a table with 3 of your friends, it gets really hard because you only got 3 people there and then your dungeon master doing the whole setup for you. But if you happen to have, you know, more friends show up one day and you have, you know, 6 or 7 or even 12 people wanting to do it with you, then they can show up and they can do it with you. Like, the game can accommodate that. And I think that's, you know, a hard thing to write into a mob and make it where it's still, you know, doable with a smaller force and yet still challenging enough with a larger one. And
right,
they did that in this game pretty well. So I think there are certain zones where you definitely need a larger force, though. You're just going to have it.
The main reason on this server, anyways, on P99, the main reason why you have Call the Mage or Call the Hero mules is because of the fact that the server's been around for a long time. People have those levels already. The content's not really changing drastically anymore, and that's the end game basically. Right. So the competition's there. Every guild does it.
You know, I mean,
pixels, that's what you got to do.
You know, I mean, you look at it like the stuff is not changing anymore. You're not getting really new content in, and you're not really gonna ever get anything more in, unless of course they add that custom content they're talking about. But beyond that, what's in the game is what you're gonna pretty much have from now on.
Yep.
However, you always have people coming into the game brand new, and you always have people leaving that have been here for a while. And when they leave, they don't really give their stuff away. Even if they wanted to, a lot of it's no trade at that point anyway. So those items that they have gotten are pretty much gone off of the server. So you would think that eventually everybody would have everything they would need and nobody would really be going after that stuff. It does somewhat happen for the higher up guilds. If you're like a hardcore raider, you're going to have, you know, an account filled with, you know, tunes that are all level 60, and they're going to have like the best stuff in slot eventually down the road. But most of those will burn out, to be honest, guys. Hardcore raiding is not something a lot of people can sustain. It's very difficult. It's long hours. You're talking about 12, 13, 14 hours sometimes every day for weeks, sometimes months on end to get that stuff. So unless you don't have a job and you don't have a family to take care of and you don't really have any responsibilities whatsoever, you're probably going to be pulling some really long hours, you know, going to work and then coming home and doing those 12, 13, 14-hour days and really getting no sleep in the process. So it can be very taxing. And so you'll see people do it for a little while and then they're like, calm down a little bit and go to like a casual.
Yeah, more power to you.
Yeah, I mean, if you can...
I couldn't do it, man.
I did it back in the day when I didn't have any responsibilities.
Definitely, yeah, definitely back then. I mean, I had a job, but I was single, no kids, nothing like that. So
right.
Nowadays, there's no way.
I could do it nowadays. I still don't have the kids. I still don't have, you know, the wife or anything like that. So I could technically do it. I don't think I could sit still that long anymore, though. As I've gotten older, I've noticed that I can't do like 14, 15 hours in a chair. Like, I gotta get up. I gotta move around. I gotta, you know, get out in the sun and you know, get some fresh air or something. Just sitting in the same chair is not something my body wants to do for very long. So
yeah, if if I tried doing that, you'd have a roommate.
Right.
Like knocking on your door, like let me in.
Right. Yeah, because you know, you get that wife aggro, guys, and
yeah, it's real.
Yeah, it definitely is. You used to hear about it all the time in the guilds when the game, you know, had been out for like 2 or 3 years. You'd hear about both sides of it: people getting married because of the game, and people getting divorced because of the game. So
yeah,
it happens. So be very careful. I always, you know, try to mention it every once in a while on the videos that this game is very, you know, addictive, but you definitely want to do it in moderation. It can be very, very bad, just like anything that's addictive. It can be incredibly bad if you let it, you know, consume your life. And this is one of those few things that can do exactly that. So
this experience is unreal.
Right. We got another one that popped back here.
Dope. Hang on, let me get that one first then.
All right, so let me come back. There we go. Let me look at my my experience bar real quick because I'm actually kind of curious to see what it's at. I haven't really been looking. Oh my god, yeah, we got a half a bubble already. Another half a bubble. So I'm 3 bubbles in now, guys. 3 bubbles into level 40. I'm going to level so quickly here. This is nuts. This is nuts. Wow, this is great, though. Now, where would you go after this, though? After you get to... Because you said it kind of peters out at level 42, so about level 41 is when you would head out?
You can stay here until 42. There was a guy in my guild here till 43 the other day. He said he was still getting really good experience up to 43, but he was just destroying the entire cave.
Now, what does that mean, up to 40? Like, once you turn 43, you're out, or all the way through 43 until you get to 44?
He was 43 probably 2 levels in when I last saw him. I haven't seen him online since.
So at 43, he was still getting some pretty good experience.
Yeah, he was still getting decent experience. He said worthwhile for him to stay. I mean, the money's not bad either because of the gems and stuff that they drop.
Oh, I was gonna say they're not really dropping a lot of cash, but I haven't really been paying attention to the actual loot that they have on them, other than these little flowers. I just like the way they look.
Tons of flowers, yeah, tons of flowers. Oh, this dude just dropped to the floor. What?
And the game does have some glitches, guys. Does that normally happen? Is that any paving issues that you might want?
I've never seen that in here. This is the first time.
It's because I'm here, guys. Clerics, they cause some weird issues. Because a lot of the time I've noticed in groups, it's I don't know what it's called, because it's not sit aggro. A lot of the time you're not even sitting when it happens. It's just cleric aggro, guys. This is the only word I can say for it. Is just because you're there, they want to go over there and beat your face in. And you haven't even done anything yet. You haven't healed anybody. You're standing up in a corner. You haven't even gotten close to them. And yet, you know, the tank will pull the mob into the room. He'll beat on him for a little while, and then all of a sudden he'll just go straight for the tank. And that can cause some weird issues when he's walking to a certain spot. There used to be rooms, and I kind of remember Seb being one of them, that had a spot that you could sit in a certain room. And if the mob wanted to hit you in that corner, he had to do a paving all the way around the outside of it. It was just that, like, it gave you that 3 or 4 seconds to stand up, and if you knew the right butter zone of where that one little spot kind of changed, you could have him jump back and forth, going all the way around like 3/4 of the room and back again as you kind of switch sides on him, and it would give you know, the tank enough time to snag aggro off him. Ooh, yeah, nice. Look at that, Jaspers. You're right about that, man. A lot of gems.
Oh yeah, it'll drop quite a few once we're here a little longer. You'll see the difference.
Have you gotten to spend very much time over in Seb lately, or I mean, even at all?
You know what? I have not touched Seb since I've been on the server.
Wow, really? Is it just because you haven't found the time, or because it's just too far out of the way?
It's so far out of the way, and being a mage, it's kind of hard to get a group sometimes because you're not part of that holy trinity.
Yeah.
Not even close. And a lot of folks on the server have a bad taste for pet classes in dungeons, just because a lot of folks don't control their pets, and like you said, the terrible pathing. You can cause a bad situation real quick. And
Seb is absolutely the worst when you're talking about mage pets. It is nasty. I can tell you that, guys. Like I said, the person I used to date when I was playing the game was a mage, so I spent, I would say, about 75% of the time I was in Seb, and I was in there a lot back in those days. I spent with a mage, and the pathing is just a nightmare for them. And unless you are willing to get rid of your pet altogether, you know, you're just not gonna do it. I don't care how good you are with it. You
can't. Yeah, pets, especially on this server, the pathing on this server is a little different than live. Sometimes worse. And it's because it's a private server. It's an all volunteer staff, so their time is limited, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you go in the Sev, you'll see pets just drop through the floor, and they're aggro all the mobs below you, and that's no bueno.
Well, I mean, even back in the day, they had those issues. Like,
they did, yeah.
In that room that I was talking about the other day, where you have the 4 or 5 name mobs, one in each room, and you kind of go back and forth. We were in that room one night, and we were killing stuff. Something happened. We don't know what it was, but all of a sudden, every mob all the way over from the exit, including the guy with the fungi tunic, the guy with the actual fungi tunic, yeah, he spawned, or not spawned, but he appeared on our side.
Huh.
He just showed up, and we killed him, of course, because there he was, right? And I'm like, how did that happen, right? How did you pull that guy and nobody else? Well, they did pull everybody else, apparently, but it showed up like 40 minutes later. You know?
That's terrible.
Yeah, it was, we don't know what the issue was, how that actually happened. In fact, it was kind of weird, though, because when it spawned, we did an OOC, and we're like, hey, what's going on over here, right? How'd this get over here? Because we're, like, laughing that we got this guy, and he dropped the fungi tunic. And the fungi group that was over there was freaking out. They're like, hey, you guys have pulled our... Mob. Right, so we're like, you know what? Come over here, get it. It's yours. We don't want to cause a ruckus. We didn't pull that. And to show we didn't pull that, you guys are welcome to the loot. So we gave him the loot, but we still got the train later on. Like, it was...
Oh, dude, you guys are, I'm like, no, well, we didn't pull nothing. What are you talking about?
Right. We could have done that, but I was like, you know, you don't steal other people's loot. Like, they're sitting over there. I've been in groups like that, and a lot of the time, you will find in zones that were camped that heavily that at least one person in, like, multiple groups is in the same guild, so word is going to get around somehow. You know, so if you keep that, the people over in the fungi group have... Oh, somebody spawned? Let me get out of here. Nice. That's good looking out.
He's rooted, so the other one might add.
Nah, if he does, I'll go ahead and root him. Did I root this guy?
Yeah, this one's rooted. Oh, he turned. Good.
Nice. Now, do you have, for monks, those that are kind of watching, do you have a certain set of weapons that, like, the warriors can use where they have, you know, effects on them? Do you ever get anything like that for a monk or no?
I've got one right now. I can't use it yet. I can use it. Obviously, they can use a weapon, but I don't have the effect until level 50, I believe.
And what's the effect?
It's a stun.
Ooh, that's going to be nice. Now, do you know how often that actually procs? The higher your dexterity, right?
Higher dex, yeah. So fairly often, a lot of monks get dex on some of their gear. My dex right now is 122.
Yeah, I thought you were one of the highest classes. I think you and maybe rangers and bards, right?
Rangers get pretty high, yeah.
Not sure what bards get, actually, to be honest. I know that brown armor from Hate has some decent dex on it, though. Oh, we got one behind us.
He should be good in the pocket. He's not going to move.
Alright, root this thing just in case.
Yep, thank you. So yeah, there's that one. There's a staff out of Carnor's Castle, Tranquil Staff, that also has, is a two-hand staff, and that has a stun effect on it as well. Most monks will use that if they're tanking, though, because if you start using it as a with a warrior or a Shadow Knight in your group, or a paladin, a regular tank, you're probably likely to pull aggro.
Well, stuns are massive. I mean, the only thing that's pretty much worse than a stun is a snare.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know. I mean, are they... it's pretty even, though, actually, I think now that I'm thinking about it, because stuns are just nasty. Like, when I used to use them with my...
It's a matter of how often it procs.
Yeah. Because I think back when I used my stun with my Cleric, because Clerics are one of the few classes that actually get a decent amount of them. In fact, we get a variety of them. So we'll have one stun that does no damage, which is beautiful, so you can use it even when the Enchanter's mezzing things. You don't have to worry about breaking that aggro, or getting any damage to yourself, or getting any aggro from the mob, because you're actually damaging it. So that's kind of a nice...
You won't break anything.
And then, of course, you have one that's a stun, and then it's also a little bit of a damage, but it comes back pretty quickly. The repop on it, the recast on it is pretty good. And then you have one that's a really big damage, or at least the most damage of all your spells with stuns on them. And then that one takes forever to come back. So if you use, I think there's 3 or 4 of them, to be honest, but if you use all of them, you can kind of chain stun an enemy fairly well, so that he almost never has a chance to cast whatever spell he's trying to. There is a little bit of a leeway in there. I do remember certain mobs that recast really quickly, you couldn't quite keep up with those by yourself. You need at least one other person to kind of offset that little gap until you can cast again. But if you have like another paladin, oh, it's the problem solved, you know, because they get all the same stuns you get.
Or an enchanter. Enchanters get a lot of different stunts as well.
Enchanters were hard to come by back in the day. I mean, that was a luxury. I see all of them all over the place now. It's the same thing with clerics. Clerics are a dime a dozen now. I think everybody realized those were the go-to classes. You had to have those, and so everybody coming back to this game for the second time around was like, I'll just start with that, you know?
Enchanter, shaman, cleric.
Yeah.
They're like falling out from the freaking ceilings around here.
And some of the other classes you didn't have a problem finding back in the day, like the warriors and the warriors. They're definitely there, but I mean, like shadow knights and paladins. Paladins in general too. I really don't ever see them. They're like completely gone.
Rare, yeah.
Which was weird because there were so many paladins back in the day, like just gazillions of them. You always had a paladin somewhere. So it's a new experience, but it's still like the same old experience, just with kind of a new feel to it, new flavor basically. So I like it.
On the server.
Tons of what?
Tons of monks.
Yeah, man. Oh my God, monks were kind of elusive when I was playing, just because they were so good they could do anything they wanted to on their own. You know.
A lot of folks didn't like pulling either,
which I never understood.
That's the main purpose of a monk, honestly, in my opinion.
That I would have to agree with that. I mean, you know, 100%. I do know what you're talking about, though. I do remember people getting into groups that were monks and just being like, I'm DPS. And I'm like, no, you're not DPS. You're the puller. You know, like, I understand we have a Shadow Knight. His pulling skills are really good, and he can tank it too. But your Feign Death is so much more reliable. You're able to get into areas that nobody else can really get into. And, yeah, you're definitely sneaky. And I love having a monk who knows how to pull, because he'll just pull something into a room, feign death, and after the Shadow Knight's got a little bit aggro, because if he feigns death immediately, it just goes off wherever it feels like.
Cleric's gonna get hit.
Because him or whoever else is sitting closer to it, and he'll ping pong back and forth to everybody who's sitting down, just smack them in the face, and then go back and forth. So yeah, let the tank get a little bit of aggro, and then flop onto the floor. But you know, once they did that, once they had that timing down just perfect, it was literally constant pulls. He would pull, bring it back to the room, flop, and by the time we were done killing that, or almost by the time we were done pulling or killing that, he would have already pulled another one. Yep. So, and he tried to time it that way on purpose, because he wanted to be close enough to the room to get experience for the kill, while at the same time still able to run off and get stuff. So, you know, once you got your pattern down and you knew what was going to spawn and where you were going to spawn and the area in which you could pull from fast enough to kind of keep it clear, then it kind of all fell into place. But definitely a unique experience for some people. But yeah, there's definitely people out there who are just like, I'm not doing it, I'm not pulling. And it's intimidating, to be honest. As I went back to play my Shadow Knight about what was it, 2 weeks ago, when I had that whole week off, and it was a little I was over in Unrest, and I'm like, I don't remember pulling in this zone. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, do I go up to the top floor? Can I go down? And then when the group moved into the main room, I couldn't pull from down there anymore, so my pulls got pretty short, and we were up in the fireplace room. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, am I pulling fast enough? Because really all I got is like 5 mobs here on this floor. And if I go up one more floor, then there's definitely mobs up there, but they're all stacked on top of each other, so it's like a 3 to 4 room pool. And we didn't have an enchanter, and I didn't have Feign Death yet at that level, so I was like, do I do it or don't I do it? I didn't have anybody to ask questions to, so it can be very intimidating, but normally you just ask the group and somebody there will know.
Nice. It's pulling's one of those things, though. I mean, definitely for Shadow Knight, like you said, you don't have the Feign Death yet, so it's a little more difficult.
But you got to do it. Like, that's the level to learn.
You have to, yeah. I mean, and the thing about people always say, well, you have Feign Death as Shadow Knight. Yeah, but mine takes a cast, and there's a recast involved. Yours is an instant, as long as you know what you're doing. And the failure rate's way different. Yeah, I
was gonna say the fact that my Shadow Knight always failed. It just seemed like he always failed when it needed to be.
You fizzle so much because it's a spell line that you don't really use too often.
I used it all the time. I would just sit there and cast that thing all day long. The fizzle thing is definitely real, though, especially when you're in that fizzle level, or that period of time where every spell, no matter what, seems to fizzle more often. And I think I'm actually in that right now, because earlier at like level 35, up to about level 40, I was fizzling like crazy, guys. It sucks so bad when you fizzle on like complete heal. You lose like a bubble of I'm exaggerating on that one, but it's a lot of power that you're losing because it's a percentage of whatever the spell costs. But
right,
yeah, Feign Death is on a Shadow Knight. It was beautiful when it worked, but when it didn't, you just laid on the floor and got beaten. And you're like, am I gonna be able to survive long enough to cast it again? No.
It's convenient. I mean, there's a few things you got to make sure that you do. First thing is make sure you turn the attack off.
See, you've mentioned that before. I don't think I ever did that back in the day. So that might have been one of the reasons it failed more for me than maybe some people else out there. I wrote in.
All right. Yeah, you have to turn the attack off.
And what's the reason behind that?
If you don't, it's gonna fail.
See, so that might have contributed to my low success rate on Fatigue or Feign Death, but it worked a lot of the time for me, and I got good enough that we were going to like Plane of Fear, and I was doing that stuff. Let me root this other guy, because he should add on here in a second.
Yeah, because on the Monk, I actually have a macro that turns my attack off, will do my Feign Death, and will also do my Sneak.
Ooh, that broke really quick. Yeah, your Sneak is kind of beautiful, actually, when you think about it. Yeah.
It's perfect. I mean, you need it to split mobs. It's awesome.
Well, for you, I had to do things the old-fashioned way, which is just to pull all the mobs with a spell. And usually, I would try something like, Dooming Darkness, and I would snare one of them, and then have them all come to me and beat me, for a little while. Then I would Feign Death in a hallway, and he would walk back to the room slower than anybody else. Yeah.
Yep. And so you have that dot on him anyway, so as soon as you stand up, he swings around and comes right to you.
Yeah. And, to be honest, Dooming Darkness or Engulfing Dark, whatever, level of that spell you have at the moment, that one lasts forever. It's a very long, dot, so it's great to split a room. It's absolutely horrible to pull with because it takes forever for them to get back to the group. You'll be sitting in there and everybody's like, well, is there nothing up? And you're like, no, it's coming. It's coming, guys.
Yeah, I'll typically pull without it, and then once I get to a good close spot to the group, I'll cast it and then flop, so that way the mob's way closer for those long pulls.
Yeah, I try to do things a little further away because I was always a little cautious when it came to people sticking their head out the door, like it always happened.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Are you pulling out there?" And I'm like, "Oh, great, thanks. You just got 14 guys."
Stay in the room.
Right? Yeah, exactly. You hear that a lot. For people who stick their nose out the tank will be like, no, don't do it, guys. You never know when I'm coming outside this door, because you'll pass by a room several times doing your little route that you got set up looking for mobs that are respawning and stuff. So occasionally you will happen to pull a mob if your timing is off. You'll pull a mob and one will respawn on the way back, and so you'll be really close to getting into that room, and you'll have to like flop right there in front of them, and then you're just like, okay, give it a second, guys. I'm right outside the door.
Yep.
But it's unique. It's definitely a class that is challenging in its own right, but at the same time, if you can handle the responsibility of pulling, that's the key. If you can handle that, if you're okay with failing and learning things the hard way, and sometimes the group is gonna wipe because of you. It's kind of the same way with the Cleric. If you're not doing the Cleric the right way, people will die. If you're not doing the Enchanter the right way, people will die. But if you're okay with that learning curve, and you can find a group of people that you group with that are okay with that kind of training you and letting you get that experience as well, then it's an amazing class, and it's really fun.
I think the main thing for a monk, especially, learn your different pulls from the different camps and different zones, but also you want to learn the timers, so that way once you actually kill the first mob in your rotation, you hit your timer, you keep an eye on it, and that way you make sure that you're not pulling when pops are about to happen.
Yeah.
You'll save a lot of heartache for your group, and it helps a whole lot.
See, I never used official timers. I never had like a little clock or anything next to me. I always just I got into the rotation. I'm like, I know, like just mentally, like, oh, it's about to respawn here pretty soon. So
yeah, you start getting to the point where you're like, okay, I can pull 20 mobs, and then that's probably about it.
Right. Or, I mean, you just realize that even if there's a long combat because somebody had to go AFK, like the Cleric went AFK, and you're like, okay, well, I guess no pools in for a little while. You'd be like, it's about 20 minutes. You know, it feels like it anyways. And you're like, well, I'll go ahead and wait until things repop, and we'll just break the room all over again.
A lot of folks track them by buffs as well.
That works if everybody's up on their buffs. I know I was notoriously horrible with that as a Cleric. If people didn't ask me for the buff, really the only one who ever got it was the Enchanter and the Tank. Everybody else was just like, if you wanted it, you asked it for me every single time it went down, which is annoying, but you don't...
Nah, especially you're the ones that take gems. Tanks, definitely. Anybody else, eh.
Yeah, Enchanters. I'll definitely use it on the Enchanter. Because he will go hours, sometimes the entire group, without ever getting hit. But the one time he gets hit is the one time I don't want him to die. If he dies, I'm next. Enchanter's always going to get more aggro than I am. And I want it on him. Because I can heal him. I can barely ever heal myself when they're beating on me. So I'd rather have the damage, you know.
They have that rune too, which is real nice.
Yeah, I mean, I have one too that I can use, the Divine Barrier. The sucky thing about it is it lasts too long, I think. You know, if you have a really good tank, it only takes them about a split second, really, to pull aggro off of you once they get to a high enough level. But because Divine Barrier lasts so long, I can't cast any spells, I can't do anything for a long period of time, like 5 or 6 seconds, and that could spell doom for whoever just got the aggro off of me.
You can't click that off either, can you?
No. Once it's on, you're stuck with it.
Because what I'm talking about for enchanters is they actually have a damage absorption shield, where it'll mitigate X amount of damage total before it's consumed, and it'll take a gem for them to cast it on themselves. It's not that bad. The gems actually, just like your symbols, the gems will change as the higher level they get with the spell.
Right.
So it's not too bad. A lot of enchanters don't ever get that spell, but I'm like, that's pretty invaluable, I would think. That's your life.
I mean, you know, depending on how much money you have, I guess I could see people not using
it. Yeah, definitely.
But, I mean, if you're going to go on raiding, like, that's probably a mandatory thing to have.
Yeah, if I see somebody rolling around in tethered silk, whatever, still, I'm like, yeah, there's no way. I don't fall for it either. I mean, play the game.
Yeah, do the best you can.
Everybody starts somewhere.
But, you know, it's crazy, though, because you will see people, like, that's one thing that we were talking about before we started the episode with Chupa, because I Superior healed him at the very beginning, and I'm like, oh, that was a little bit too powerful, right? It's like, every single person you will meet has a different amount of absorption on their life, and how much damage they take, and how fast they take it. See, Chupa doesn't take damage very quickly, but he also doesn't have, you know, the amount of hit points like Thum does. And I'm used to healing Thum over here, and then I go to healing a monk or a bard or something like that, and all of a sudden, my spell that usually only does like a bubble and a half on Thum does like 3 bubbles on somebody else. Then again, you also have it within the same class. You'll have, you know, 2 or 3 monks. If you guys watch my Soul B videos, you'll see it in there. I had 5 monks in my group at one point, and every single one of the monks in there had completely different armor from one another. One of them, and level-wise as well, too, guys, that definitely throws a monkey wrench in the works trying to figure out, you know, what spells to use on, or what level heal spells to use on what person at what time.
You said monkey wrench. That's terrible.
Oh, man. No, I wasn't trying to do a pun, guys. I'm honest.
That was so great.
But guys, I think we're going to go ahead and end the episode here. I think this place is absolutely fantastic. I've already gotten a bubble and a half in just the like 40 minutes we've been here, so that is nuts. At level 40, that is just like epic amount. That's probably twice, if not more than that, on the experience had we not been in a heck level. So if this was like level 39, that would have been about 3 or maybe 3.5 bubbles of experience in that amount of time, which...
I've got 40% since we started together.
Jeez. Yeah, see, there you go, guys. 2 bubbles already, and he's a lot higher level than me, so... Actually, no, you're not, right? You're level 39.
Actually, more than 40%. What was I at? I've gotten close to 60%.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, that works out a little bit better. Than my math actually kind of adds up on that one. But guys, yeah, again, this is an amazing place to come to if you are looking for a good place for a duo or even just solo. If you happen to have a class that's able to come in here These guys, they hit kind of hard, though. They're not too difficult. I think when they hit me, they take off about a half a bubble a hit, which is not too bad. A lot of these guys who are really difficult will take off a bubble and a half per hit. So, yeah, it's not the worst I've seen, but definitely not, little pushovers either. So just be ready for the damage, and hopefully your DPS is high enough, because these guys spawn like crazy. So definitely just be prepared for what you might find in here. But other than that, you're not really going to have to worry about trains. You're not really going to have to worry about, roamers for the most part. There is 1 or 2 roamers, but once you figure out where those are at, you can pull to a nice safe spot, and you're ready to go.
Yes, sir.
But as always, guys, I'm AC Gamer, and we got Chupacabra with us.
Have a good night, everybody.
And we'll catch you all next time.
Subscribe.
Hey guys, and welcome to the disembodied voice of AC Gamer. We are definitely going to be doing a lot more series in the future, but here are a few of them that you guys might find interesting. Of course, you're more than welcome to check them out. I would love to hear your comments. Again, if you do enjoy these videos, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe. It's definitely the indicator that I use to tell if you guys want to see more videos like that, of that particular game style, of that series in the long run. So when you guys leave comments down, it helps me decide whether we should keep doing it, as well as whether you want to see games like that in the future. And here are a few of them right here. I kind of picked out a few of different genres. We will be doing spotlights for other YouTubers in the future. So if you want to get a little shout out, definitely let me know. If you group with me, chances are you will get a shout out in here eventually. But for now, these are just 4 series that I have that I feel like could use a little bit more attention, and that you guys might actually enjoy as well. Thanks again for watching, guys, and we will definitely catch you all next time.